Welcome back, sports gamers. It's the Natural. They had a live stream today, EA, about Madden NFL 20, and they touched upon franchise mode and some gameplay and some other changes on feedback from the Madden 20 beta. I wanted to focus on franchise mode today, and let's get right into it. I'm going to actually watch it live with you guys and kind of give my thoughts on how everything went.
All right, so contract structures. So people were saying, please update the contract structures in the game. Actually, shout out to Funky Donkeys. He was the user that posted this. I want to give them attribution for kind of starting the thread.
Yep.
But he's like, please update the contract structures in the game. In the franchise deep dive, you claim to put work into making contracts line up with the real NFL, but in reality, there's kind of some things missing, like, you know, fifth-year options for first-round picks, guaranteed money restructuring, player team options for certain years in the deals. Are we going to do anything in regards to that? So I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So the way that we are representing guaranteed money right now is through signing bonus. It's not exactly a one-to-one because there's guaranteed salary versus signing bonus, which is always guaranteed as well for players. But that's kind of the way that we're supplementing it right now in a year that we didn't have the chance to add additional resources on the franchise side to improve that area. Regarding fifth-year options for first-round picks, it is confirmed that it will be a scenario that we are going to be releasing in a future title update this year. So that is something very big, getting that fifth-year option for first-round rookies. And the other things, the guaranteed money structures and various options, they're things that we definitely want and we're going to look into in the future as well.
So a couple of things there he did touch upon. The biggest one being the fifth-year option for rookies, which people have been asking for that for a while there. But also, if you notice, he did mention the lack of resources that they had available to really tackle contracts the way they are. But this is why I made probably a video a little while ago, and I talked about Swami, who was speaking there, and how I think he would help and improve franchise mode. And this is an example of him doing what he can do with what he's given. A lot of times people blame the developers for franchise mode not being where it should be, but this is a case where you can kind of read through the lines and see, hey, we didn't have the resources to do what we really want to do, but we still got this done for you guys. So I think a lot of times when franchise mode falls short, really it doesn't lay at the feet of developers, but the higher ups who are the ones who kind of delineate or choose where the resources go for the game. So you can see that it was a good bonus there, the showing that he actually did. They have reworked some of the contracts and added the fifth-year option, but it's still some work to be done there that you know, hopefully that they can improve upon. But that is something that people are looking forward that they add into the game. Hopefully they can keep working on that. And I do like the fact that he mentioned kind of the all year round development cycle where they're always going to keep updating the game. And like I said in the previous video, that franchise is a live service this year, so it will be getting updates the whole year. Hopefully it's now a live service, but hopefully it will get updates all year round the same way Mutt does. So let's kind of get into the next one where they talk about the Super Sim engine.
Next up, we got a question from rmoons1216, and he was talking about, you know, when simulating games, QBs do not record rushing stats. So
yes.
What are we doing in that space?
We're looking into it. It really ties into our Super Sim engine. It's a very large and complex system, but we are looking into it because it is an area that we know is a big deal, especially for guys like Lamar Jackson, like Marcus Mariota, et cetera, Deshaun Watson, to have these types of rushing stats because it's a huge part of their game. We already are working on things to address it in standard gameplay. We're also looking into it in the Super Sim engine as well.
Great stuff.
All right, so talking about the Super Sim engine, and this has been an issue for a while with quarterbacks not getting rushing stats, and it's definitely been a major problem in the past with just stats being wonky or not tracked properly in franchise mode. But it's something that it seems like they have not fixed it, but they're aware of it, and it's something that they're working on. That Super Sim engine is a very complex engine, so hopefully to get that one worked out. But on this one, it sounds like it's still a problem, but they're aware of it. So like I said, with that full development cycle that they have, and they're gonna keep working on the franchise mode and gameplay throughout the year, hopefully this is something that they can get addressed, but you know, we'll see. So next up, they kind of talk about the lack of depth in franchise mode, and that's something that I talked about in my franchise video, the truth about Madden 20 franchise. If you haven't seen that, make sure you check it out on the channel. And I talked about the lack of depth and so many things that are still missing from franchise mode, as it's been a disappointment last several years. Even this year with the addition of QB1, it's more of an offline thing, and but this franchise mode, even in Madden 20, has been lacking a bit. So let's see what they say about the lack of depth in Madden 20 franchise.
Awesome. So we have Harvest Moo 561. He talked about when he played the Madden 20 closed beta that it felt like there was a lack of depth in franchise, and just in general. Can you talk a little bit about that and what we're doing to kind of add more depth in that space?
Well, we're adding a lot of scenarios to the game for launch, and we're going to be adding continuous development scenarios throughout the entire course of the year. And I think that's really an area that we can expand upon, that type of living world and having different people approach you, really make it feel like you're part of a team, that different members of your organization are interacting with you, and all the different things that come with it. Could be players, could be coaches, etc., to really help enhance that experience and add more diversity to the content that we had in the beta, because it was a small snippet of what is to come.
For sure.
All right, so that one is, the promise. It sounds really good, and the idea that they are going to develop all year round in franchise mode the same way they do MUT. Yet to be seen. I would love to see that, but it's good to see. One of the main things I pointed out, and the beta was speaking about it, was the lack of scenarios. And I played a couple of seasons and only got maybe 3 scenarios through the whole thing. And I actually played an online league. We had set up an online league with my other PML guys, and we did not see scenarios triggering. But it's good to see that they're going to add additional scenarios. But it has to be something interesting. We just don't want to just be in a text or just a coach saying the same thing. It has to be other things happening, maybe something in the locker room, or more things with reporters or outside influences or things of that nature, just to make franchise interesting. And is it going to be only focused on offline franchise? Will there be more scenarios triggering in online franchises and 32-man franchises as well, to keep things interesting from week to week when you're not playing the game? It's just it's yet to see, but interesting to still see Swami drop a little marketing speak there with the living worlds, which is something that we've heard previously. And Madden, he might be slowly becoming indoctrinated. All right, and go to the next one where they talk about the superstar X Factors and the database in Madden 20.
Will Superstar X Factor Vision and Database be available in franchise mode?
Yes, absolutely. We have it in a variety of places in franchise mode, including on the team select screen as you go into a game. It's one of my favorite features this year, because you really can see everybody who is going to be impactful in a game from both teams right there with the abilities labeled right in front of you. It's a great tool to have. It separates it out between the X Factors and the Superstars. Cool. And it really lays out everything for both teams, and you can sort and take in a bunch of different directions.
All right, that's a good one that also affects the gameplay as well as not just franchise. That's one of the main things of strategy, is identifying and knowing your X Factor superstars as well as your opponent's X Factor superstars, and how to gameplay and game plan towards that. And I would love to see something in franchise mode where you can game plan towards the X Factor. They did have mentioned that where in the scenarios they say you're facing off of Tom Brady. What's your game plan to kind of stop him? I would love to see more built around that, like when you're training your players and being able to affect that, and say someone's like a Tom Brady again, you're training your DBs to play tighter coverage, or do something that they can be more aware of short passes. Just building upon the idea of that is a good thing. But it's good to see that you can easily identify who your superstar, who your superstar and X Factor guys are. So next one, they talk about assigning X Factor abilities to your players and how that works.
So next up, can you assign X Factor abilities to your creative player in franchise?
Absolutely. So we have different paths for that, especially through Face of the Franchise, where in Face of the Franchise you can equip your abilities at any given point. However many slots that you have unlocked, you can mix and match, and you can really have that type of freedom. And we wanted to make that my player experience really stand out and let you have that customization and freedom relative to the standard franchise mode, where whatever they earn is what they will have, but it's based on archetype and other factors involved.
That's pretty interesting that he dropped the My Player. And anyone catch that? Any 2K fans catch that one? Drop a little My Player in there. But it's good that the guys that do creative player, the fact that you can assign the X Factor abilities is an important one. and you can also make that full experience and stand out, and you can have some customization in your player and how you want it there. So that's a good one for people who like doing that, who do the creative players or something like that. But the problem is that someone can kind of quote unquote cheat, and they go in there, they can increase their ratings, and then you can kind of, depending on the archetype, then you'll have that X factor. So the X factors are tied to the archetype, so you're not going to have someone like Lamar Jackson have the same superstar abilities as Tom Brady. So that's good that they have that type of balance in the game, even when you're able to assign it to your players yourself. So they have two more. One, they address can the superstars X factors be earned, or something that's used, it's just when you drafted your player with it already.
All right, next up is in Connected Franchise, is Superstar X Factor something you can earn, or do you have to be drafted with it?
Both, actually.
Okay.
So you can earn the abilities through performance, through awards, different things of that nature. We removed the ability to lose dev trait this year, so you'll have guys going up. It's not exactly easy to get the new dev traits, which is why we felt comfortable not having the regression down in dev trait, and we don't think it's going to oversaturate the league. But you will also be able to draft players with Superstar or Superstar X Factor abilities. We added a little bit of fog of war to the abilities, or to the dev traits in the draft. So if you have Star, Superstar, or Superstar X Factor, you will have a hidden development trait that you have to play a certain number of snaps with that rookie to then unlock what their dev trait is.
Okay.
So you know that you have something that's above normal dev trait, and then you find out how special these guys truly are after you really experience them as a player.
Now, this is one of the ones, I probably like that section the most, where he talked about that. This is all positive things here. It's great having the more fog of war. This is something that's definitely from feedback, because before it was just Superstar X Factors, but now they've increased it, so it's everything above normal. So as soon as you got a guy and he's not normal, he can be Superstar X Factor, he can be all the devs above that, which is great. Good to see this, that they kind of increased that. This is what kind of feedback that we had, that we wanted. You can also earn it, and that's another thing that another point that he mentioned, that you can't lose devs. We already knew that, but then now, but first thing I had a question about that when we were talking about franchise mode is that, okay, it's going to be a bunch of superstar guys all over the place, but they've made it harder to unlock and get the higher dev traits now to kind of balance it out. So it's going to be key to see how well balanced that is and in the game, and because if it's not well balanced, again, it's going to be overloaded. But it sounds like they got that kind of sorted out. But it's a big thing that the fog of war is a big one. The fact that you can't lose dev, but they balanced it, so it's harder to get the dev trait raised up. So it's interesting how that's worked out. So I'm really excited about this point, and the fact that have some kind of mystery to you not know sure what player you're gonna get, what kind of development they're gonna have going out. So the one part here, they talk about the rating stretch and how that affects franchise mode. That's been one of the biggest things people have been upset about. A lot of NFL players with the ratings coming out and they're so low, them not knowing or being educated to realize the fact that the rating stretch and how they're trying to separate the top players from the good and average players, and he talks about how that affects franchise mode specifically.
Yeah, I just want to talk a little bit about the rating stretch relative to franchise.
Okay, yeah, go for it.
So first off, the one thing that you should really look at is the rank at the position. So the way that we have our contract system set up and the way that teams are built is, with all of the ratings lower, rookies might be below established veterans. But the lower the overall and the younger the player, the faster they will progress. So in theory, if they are focus trained, which they will be because they are newly drafted players, they're going to rise up above low-level veterans, who they will then surpass and get the playing time on. And for the contracts, it's based on the overall of the player's contract right then.
Okay.
So if you have someone who's an 82 overall who gets, let's say Carson Wentz being the tied for the 12th best quarterback, and he has a $180 million contract, that number will help influence other 82 overall quarterbacks in the future.
Wow.
So you take the entire contract structure, it's the contract relative to the overall, and that really helps shape the contract structures across the board. So even though everything's scaled down, we also are taking that into account with our progression, our regression, and with our contract system.
That was a lot. He said a lot there. And we all know the rating stretch is definitely something that's going to affect gameplay as well as franchise mode. And one interesting point he pointed out was that the lower the overall and the younger the player, the faster they will progress. It's going to be interesting to see how that pairs with the developer. So if you have a young guy with the high dev, a superstar star dev, he's probably going to zoom up as far as overall and how you develop and focus train him. It's going to be interesting. And how, now I love the fact that you have rookies who can play their way past veterans even easier. So you have a lower rookie who's lower than a veteran, a lower rated veteran. You get him playing time, you get him coached up, he's going to pass that guy because he has that faster development for rookies. That's good. And they have contracts based on overall. So interesting talking about that, the contracts based on overall and relative to the overall of the player and how that can kind of set the market for everyone. So does that mean that players aren't going to come in with their actual contracts? I mean, I would think not. I would think they're going to have the real life contracts and how it is in the game. But it's interesting to see if they're going to have someone with a high, with a low overall that has just a bad contract. Somebody who's just overpaid. I won't say Daniel Graham or somebody like that, but I'm sure there's a lot of players. There's a few players here and there who have, pretty big contracts, but Madden kind of did them a little bit dirty and they're not rated high. Are they going to adjust that contract to play a little, to be a little bit lower so it's a better contract for the team, or that's just the way it is? So I guess you see. So some interesting things, some promising things for franchise mode for Madden 20. To me, overall, a bit of disappointment. Not a lot of features and the big things that we wanted, but they have. Since that teams they have been listening to the feedback from the beta, and so the one promising thing is the full year-round development that they're gonna do. And let's see. This is the first year that is set up like mud to have full live development year-round. So I'm gonna wait and see. I'm not gonna pass any judgment yet. I'm gonna wait and see how that goes, and if because the idea that promise of that is a major one. This can be a game changer for Madden and franchise mode if they're gonna really drop some real serious features like the 5th year option. They're gonna keep coming with stuff like that all year round for franchise mode. This is gonna be huge, and maybe this is something that they'll use to get franchise mode where we all want it to be and where it used to be. So that's it for the video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you drop a like, subscribe, have more Madden 20 gameplay videos coming, breaking that down and some other things. So stay tuned, and I'll catch you guys later. This is The Natural. I'm out.